It's Eric J. Olson from Array Digital. Today we are going to be talking about online events. So if your inbox is anything like mine, you are probably getting inundated with invitations for Zoom meetings and things like that. Certainly all of the events that you used to go to for networking and for learning have transitioned online. And so today we put together two speakers, which are normally featured in person at our in-person events in downtown Norfolk, but we brought them online, and we're going to talk about how to plan and execute a proper online event. So let me quickly introduce our two speakers, and then we'll turn it over to them. We're going to have a little question and answer session. So first, I'd like to introduce Deany Dormer. I have known Deany for many, many years. We actually shared an office for at least a year and a half or so in downtown Norfolk at Hatch. So we would go there pretty much every single day when we were both starting our businesses up. And I learned a lot from Deany during that time. And also after I moved out, I actually worked with Deany for a little bit. I hired her to help us with our events. And we did a whole series of events for a year. And it really helped with the branding of my company at the time. So Deany is the event strategist and owner of Executive Events based out of the Norfolk area. She is an event manager, event planner, and customer service perfectionist. I love that. Customer service perfectionist. That is awesome. All right. Also, we are joined today by Kristen Littlewood. I've also known Kristen for several years as well. Kristen is the vice president of marketing at a Virginia Beach company named RynohLive. And I happen to be familiar with RynohLive. We did some consulting there for about a year and a half with Dick Reese and the rest of the crew there. Fantastic company, and they're growing like crazy. And I think Kristen and the marketing she's doing has a lot of impact on their growth right now. So I'd like to welcome both of you to our live. Welcome.
Hey, thanks so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Yep.
All right, so you got it. All right, so we're doing a live event about live events. So this is a little meta, right? So first, I guess, you know what I want to ask you about? Let's talk about our office settings. Like, what do we got going on here? Because clearly I didn't get the memo and you guys did. I think your offices look a lot better for online video.
Well, it's certainly something that I've had to perfect as these video conference calls have become more popular. I'm always like, I didn't used to be as concerned about what was behind me before when you'd have like, a random video call here or there. But, now it's like, oh, this is going to be a regular backdrop. So let's see what is back there. So yeah, talking about, having shifting and making changes to the way we're meeting. Now it involves interior decorating.
You're right about that. And what about you, Deany?
Plain. We got some little plants going on here, things like that. Nothing too complicated.
But the lighting is good and everything looks good. So you guys have done a good job with that. For sure. And we've seen some really bad ones. I'm sure you have too, but I know I've seen some really bad ones where people their back is to the window and you can't see anything, It's just
just a shadow.
So interestingly, I invited you both to Marketers Anonymous many, many months ago, and we were going to talk about in-person events, which I know you both do a lot of, but with coronavirus, clearly that doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now. I don't think anyone's really that interested in learning about how to optimize their in-person events right now because the world has shifted, at least temporarily, to online events. How dramatic of a shift have you seen in that? And like, what are some trends that you're seeing or you think are going to be emerging soon?
Well, I find it very interesting. We've done hybrid events before, and we have done virtual events previously also. It's been something that people are not really just like jumped on board with before, but now because we have to make this big pivot, we're seeing people are a lot more computer savvy. They have to figure out like Zoom and Hangouts and different things like that. So it's forcing us to go in this direction that we were going in anyway to a certain extent. So I think it's definitely going to be interesting going forward and seeing how each of these companies are going to be dealing with events going forward, and not just events, but meetings and just general small in-team things. People have to learn this technology now, whereas before we had pushback on this technology, but now it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, that's right. Just what I've seen lately, like we had already started hosting online events because, of course, that gives you the benefit to, get in front of a few more people who maybe, travel if it was an event that required travel or something like that, if it's just not a regional event. Some people just aren't able to do that. So we had started shifting some of our events online already, but certainly we've noticed, with the in-person events, everything is just kind of on hold right now. So some of them are adapting them to make them online events, but some of them are just, still kind of going to wait and see. Are we going to have to cancel? Are we going to postpone? Or is there a virtual method that we can take advantage of?
Yeah, it's been crazy times for sure, but we're all adapting. So, a couple of the things that I wanted to talk about today were things like the strategy behind events, and in particular, like online events. I know I've been invited to a few where I'm not really even sure why I was invited or what I was going to get out of those events. So, like the strategy behind it and the strategy behind the follow-up as well. So, one of the things that I've learned, certainly from Deany over the years, is it's fine if you want to throw a big party and invite a bunch of your friends to drink with you and whatnot and write it off as a company function. But really, there's a business development purpose to this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to talk a little bit in these questions and maybe address like the strategy of doing it and how to follow up in particular. And then how do you even know if you were successful? So.
Yeah, that's a good point, Eric. And I remember telling you about that and kind of like being very specific on we need to be doing this for business purposes, right? So what I found is that many companies are putting on, I guess, good events, right? People enjoy them. They get positive feedback from the attendees, letting them know that the speaker was good or, the food was delicious. So while this is good information, when I'm working with businesses, I work to determine, are they hitting those business objectives, right? So I believe that there's a front end and a back end to every event. The front end is maybe the prettiness or the popularity factor that, ooh, a lot of people came to my event, right? But the back end is the business behind the event. So what is the overall goal of the event? I've worked with a few corporations that would just put on events just for the sake of putting on events, just, hey, we're having this event, it's an annual event. And one of the reasons that I started executive events was to bring a big focus to the goals and putting tracking in place so that you know if you hit your goal or not. So I guess if I could break that down, say if your event goal is to build brand awareness, right? How do you track that? What metrics do you need to put in place to let you know that you have increased brand awareness? So if it is brand awareness, say it could be stuff like increasing your event registrations. So you look at the number of registrations that you have. It could be increasing your social media presence. So what does that look like? The number of channels that you want to promote, the number of impressions that you're getting from your social media. Those are things that you can follow. If you want to increase your media coverage, that could be part of that whole getting more eyeballs. How many media placements did you get? So it's picking that goal and then putting those specific metrics in place so that when the event is over, you can say, okay, we increased brand awareness. We have brand awareness as the goal, but that metric is increasing website traffic. Okay, and then putting things in place so that we're tracking how many people are coming to our website, are they engaging, different things like that. So big on getting specific and measurable goals and then putting metrics in place to track those, I believe is imperative.
Nice. And Kristen, so for RynohLive, how much effort are you putting into, or I guess really I should say, how much are you trying to get brand awareness versus actual leads out of your events?
So actually, the primary reason for our events is, typically lead generation. We are, instead of just the events that we plan, which is, primarily our webinar series that we host, we spend quite a bit of our event focus on attending other industry events, like whether it's just as attendees, if we're getting exposure to our prospects there, or if we're sponsoring. And so a lot of our marketing budget is taking a look at what events are already happening out there in the industry, what kind of sponsorships are they offering, and is there value there? Because obviously the whole idea behind that is not to, be a feel-good gesture to, put dollars in the pockets of the event organizer, even though they appreciate that. It's, what's in it for us. So really analyzing each event we're going to, as in, how much exposure are we going to get for this? Are there prospects that are going to be in attendance? Are we going to get that list to be able to look at that and make that evaluation? Are we going to get to be live in front of the group? Are we going to, what is the value that we're getting for selecting these industry events that we're going to? Because we've been in it for a lot of years in doing that. And so we've got some historical analysis there. So we, know a lot of the events. And that's kind of why we've said, now that we've been out there and we've seen all these events that are available in the field, which ones were more valuable, which ones are not, and is there a benefit to hosting our own? So that's why we've started taking this, like webinar approach, where, we've got our lists, we can send those to our prospects. And what we're offering with that is information that is not related to, we're not inviting them to a pitch, a sales pitch. We give them content from other industry hot topics that'll be relevant to our prospects, and then invite them. And of course, it's got our branding and everything like that. And through that, we keep the sales team engaged with those efforts so that they can see how registration numbers are going. And then, they have the web content, they can invite prospects to the webinars. And they can also, obviously, it's required that they follow up with the ones that are in their territory and just say, hey, just checking in. Did you enjoy the webinar? Or, hey, sorry, I noticed that you missed it. Can I send you a link to view the recording? So it's really about, where are the opportunities? Is it attending an industry event, or is it hosting something that we can attract people to on our own?
Yeah, such good points. I mean, definitely a lot of good information there. And I agree with you. Like, there's two completely different kinds of events that I consider. One is throwing our own event, and one is attending someone else's event, especially if you're going to do something like a booth sponsorship or something like that. And a lot of times, like, I'll get requests from the team saying, hey, why don't we buy a booth at this one particular conference? It's only like $1,000. And I think, well, it's going to be a lot more than that, because number one, like, we don't do that. So we have to get a lot of collateral together, which we don't already have. Someone's got to do that, or we have to pay someone to do it. We have to fly out there, hotels. It's a big investment, right? And so, like, what's the return on investment that we expect? So I would imagine, like, things like that, like the return on investment is probably like, Deany, I would imagine, like, that's probably where you put, I would think, a lot of attention when you're dealing with your clients who are considering throwing an event.
Yeah, definitely. I say don't do an event if you're not going to get a return. Like, you have to think of events as just another tool, right? So events is to get your business out there, promote your business. So you can do that with television, radio, billboards, all this stuff. So we see events as just another way to promote your business. So just as you would want your newspaper article, or maybe not that, but like your digital marketing that Array would do, to show what that you invested a certain amount, and here's that return, here's what you're getting, the value for that money. It's this exact same thing with events. Events is just another tool for promotion of your business, right? So you want to make sure that you're looking at what is that return on investment. I always like to say return on objective investment. It's not necessarily just monetarily, that sort of thing. So it could be the brand awareness thing that I talked about before. It could be driving sales leads. So what is that objective that you're doing to put on, the reason that you're putting on that event, and then tracking it so that you know what that value is in your participation. Absolutely necessary.
So as a business owner and entrepreneur, and working with other business owners, I see that when people start in business, they tend to make the exact same mistakes that I did. We all make the same mistakes, and then we all have this period of rapid learning where we get better. And it sounds like, well, I assume that a lot of people, when they get into the event marketing game, they decide to throw their own event or go to a conference, that they make the exact same mistakes. What are those mistakes that you think are like really prevalent that they need to avoid, and why do you think that they make those mistakes?
So I can say from experience, it just in my industry or places where I've worked, the initial thought when you're trying to build your prospect list and you're trying to get exposure is attend everything, go everywhere, get in front of as many people as you can, and that's a great way to get your name out there, because you definitely need to do that, but being a little bit more strategic about it probably couldn't hurt, because it is a really easy way to spend a lot of money. So just kind of stepping back and going, you don't have to, like, you can how can you maximize your touch points without having to physically travel or be somewhere or attend something and not necessarily get anything out of it? Because in order to maximize what you are doing, whatever initiative it is, you've got to make sure that you're able to do the pre-work, do the post work to really get the most out of it. Because if you're just, running wild and chasing leads and going here and there, something's going to fall through the cracks, and, you're just going to end up spending a lot of money and not really, getting the results that you want. So.
Yeah, that's what I see too, is the biggest mistake that I see is a business not knowing their ideal customer. And I know that sounds so simple, right? Like, we sell to these people, but a lot of people just want to sell to everyone. And it's about taking that time and becoming extremely strategic. So I always say you can sell to everyone, but you can't market to everyone, right? So if someone wants your product or service and they're not in your ideal customer bracket, sure, sell it to them, but you can't market to everyone. Who is that specific, unique group that you're marketing to? That is your avatar and all these other marketing names. Who is that? And niche down, right? And being really, really specific about who your ideal customer is. It sounds simple, but it's not as simple for companies to kind of like hone in on that. So I would spend some time on that, becoming as specific as possible. We always say niche till it hurts. And then doing events for that specific group of people. If other people on the outskirts want to attend your event, fine, but you're marketing to that specific group of people. So the events that you attend, when you're flying and you're paying all this money to go to these events, it's to get in front of that specific group of people. So getting really, really clear on your ideal client, your target market, I think is absolutely imperative. And then all that strategy that you're putting in place is to get in front and interact with those people.
Okay, what you said something before, I already forgot it. I need to listen to it again, but you said something like you can sell to anyone, but you should know who you're marketing to, or I'm going to have to rewind it. You remember that was like awesome.
Yeah, you can. So I always say we don't have like millions and millions of dollars, right? So we have to be very, very specific. So you can sell to anyone, but you can only market.
Yeah, that's perfect.
To these groups of people. Of course, if we have millions and millions of dollars, we can market to everyone, but that's not the case, especially
that's
right?
Profound.
Yeah. So
it really is.
Too.
No, Wait, your marketing budgets don't grow exponentially every year?
Unfortunately.
But you're right. It's just hard to even identify who your customers are, and a lot of companies, when they first start out, like when it's just a one-person show or two-person show, they'll take anything, So anything for money, basically. And at some point, you hope to kind of like zero in a little bit as far as the kind of customers that you want to deal with. Sometimes companies don't do it, but there's a lot of pros and cons to niching or not niching. But certainly if you niche, you know exactly who you're talking to, and you know the exact message that you need to deliver to them. So that's spot on. All right, so let's say you want to throw an event. And it's now, right? So it's coronavirus world, which we're going to be in probably for another month or two, maybe 3, who knows? But if you want to throw an event, there's some things you need to line up. So in preparation for doing an event online, what do you think are like the good platforms that you should probably consider? Maybe the ones that maybe you shouldn't consider. And then also, like, how do you prepare for this? Like, do you just do it, go live and announce it like when you're live, or is there some preparatory work you should be doing? Like, what do you think are like best practices?
So for our purposes, there's always a lot of thought that goes into it ahead of time. We haven't done kind of a live event, and just announced it at that time. We've definitely taken a lot of time to focus on our invitation lists and making sure that everyone is aware that the event is coming up, internally, because there, some people could be fielding questions about it, and the last thing you want is someone on your team going, oh, I didn't know anything about that event coming up. So communication definitely is always part of the strategy. But yeah, that planning, what's your timeline? When are you going to have your event? Who are you inviting? And then, just really, like we've said already, being strategic about it, using it as a tool to get in front of the right people, because ultimately, you want, when you're having your event, you want the people to log in, and you want to, get as much mileage out of it as you can. So that's what we do. We're very calculated in how we execute the events, the webinars. Even to the point that this month we changed directions. Like, it was already an online webinar for prospects and clients, but we changed topic and we changed the date because we felt that there was more relevant information. We had a topic already planned that we planned back in January. We had the speaker lined up, we had picked a date, and we were just about to launch it when we said, wait a minute, this was like, mid to end of March. And honestly, so here's one piece of this that I'll mention just for what it's worth. I reached out to the person who we had lined up to speak, just to make sure, like, see how things check in. I feel like we might want to change directions with this particular topic. We can feature you later in the year. And I could not get a hold of this speaker for about a week. And so turns out this person is based in Louisiana. They had been in isolation for almost 30 days because of
Wow.
COVID. They had COVID-19 and they hadn't seen their family. They were waiting. They were improved after spending several days in a hospital bed, and this is stuff, like, it's real. And so we decided, he's like, I'm fine though, I'm healthy now, I'm just waiting a test to say that I've gotten over this and I could be reunited with my family. Happy to proceed with the webinar, but hey, let's consider if this is a topic people want to hear right now. So we pulled together, we regrouped, got in touch with some folks who are actively working on a topic that's very, very relevant to what's going on now. And we, put it out there in 1 week. So that's not the ideal timeline and planning, but it's reacting to, real situations and what's out there. And it was incredible. It was a success for us. Everyone, ended up healthy. It was good information. So anyway.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. Rapid adjustment, that's for sure.
Yes, definitely. But that's the beauty of online events. There is that you can do versus all of the events that had been scheduled, in-person events that it's just kind of this wait and see. Do we postpone? Do we cancel? And it's been a mixed bag. We've had some take them online and become webinars. We've had some that have just canceled right out the gate, and we have one that's already selected a new date for September. So we'll see if that's going to be a success for them, if things are able to happen at that point. But
cool, got it. Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of these Zoom meetings that maybe it's only me, but I'm only getting like 1 to 2 days notice. So Deany, do you think that's a good idea, or like do you think it was just like a response to how quickly this COVID information was coming out? Or should people be doing that, or should they provide more of a notice?
I think it depends on your audience. So it goes back to knowing your audience. What can they handle? What are they looking for? It's all about the audience. It's all about your ideal customer. It's all about what you've already done with them. Is their turnaround time a little bit faster? Are you working with maybe a little bit younger generation that can kind of turn a little bit on the fly? Are you working with the types of people that need to be planning out a little bit more in advance? So I would say it's all about knowing your audience, and then that goes into the platform that you pick. What types of things you're trying to get across? So it definitely depends. The answer is it depends. And so you have to take a look back at your strategy. So if you're doing like a small internal team event, something like, Zoom or your Google Hangouts is fine. And you can kind of have a really quick turnaround time for that. If you're looking for something more like a conference, you want to take time and promote that.
Yeah.
You want to be able to tell people this is what you're going to get. And you can't get it anywhere else, right? This is why we're unique. And giving them some time to plan through that. So it definitely depends, and I think it's all about knowing your audience.
I think the "it depends" is probably not the answer that people necessarily want to hear, but it's the truth. Mm-hmm. And a lot of factors go into this, and honestly, for anyone who's watching, like, I think that's why you would hire someone like Chris and someone like Deany to help kind of guide you through these events and provide you with whatever options you should consider. So another great quote by you, Deany. It depends. I love it. No, but it's so true. All right. Hey, I've got a couple of comments I wanted to take a look at. So Corin Morgan. Corin is telling me what Deany said the first time. You can sell to everyone, but you cannot market to everyone. Love it. Yeah, that's very good. And then we have a quick question from Chris Ruddick. He says, I'm struggling to engage with a target market that is very event oriented. They have a very low online footprint. Ideas. So it sounds like they are used to going to events, but they're not online. And probably the struggle now is, well, if they're not online, if they're not hanging out online, how does it get to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say make it as easy as possible for them, right? So maybe you create a little rat card or a little guide that you're giving them steps 1, 2, 3. Here's how you log on. Here's how you get this Zoom link. Here's the webinar that we're going to be using, and break it down, make it, kid glove easy sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is the perfect time to get those type of people that are not technologically savvy and things like that, because we don't have another choice right now. Right. And so this is the time where they're going to have to learn. So it's kind of like sorry, not sorry, but you have to get with the times and you have to learn this technology. But it's up to us as marketers to make it easy as possible for them to be able to do that. Right. So that could be hand holding, that could be specific calls, that could be an email, step 1, 2, 3. And then letting them know why they must attend this event. Why is it necessary for them to learn how to download Zoom or learn how to download this Expo app and things like that and be part of your event. But think of these virtual events just like you would in-person events. So it's all about that human connection. So especially if you have a group that is used to being in person, make it still seem like that. So you can have a virtual waiting room. You can have networking rooms. You can have different breakout rooms. Make sure that you always have a moderator, right? So I'm sitting here talking, but I'm not looking in the chat and things like that because maybe I'm the speaker. So have a moderator that is fielding those questions, just like you guys do. And so then they're letting you know, and they're interacting with people in the chat boxes and things like that. And just make it as engaging as possible. Think about prizes, think about quizzes, think about your polls and your surveys. There's ways to make it feel personable. There's other things you can do where you match up people that want to network together and you go off into your networking room for 15 minutes or however long you deem necessary, and they're given a human connection during the break and things like that. So treat it just like you would a live event. Have those fun things, and there's so many platforms right now that have these bells and whistles and fun, new, interactive things that, you know, rival even some of the things that we do at live events. So think of those virtual waiting rooms and the networking rooms and the prizes and the quizzes and different things. It's all about that engagement. With a digital platform, there's so many distractions, right? People can check their email, browse social media, things like that. So keep it engaging, keep it as engaging as possible. Make sure that you're having regular breaks. Make sure that you're letting people know what to expect and why they should come back after a break. If you do like a 15-minute, you know, break.
Cool.
So just make it as engaging as possible. Yeah.
Yep. So engaging and hold their hand and let them, like, explain to them exactly how to get on. I would also say send out calendar invites, because, you know, like if someone just sends me an email and I don't get a little ding ding from my calendar, like I probably won't be there, you know. So
yeah, and you know, the reminder that this is happening in a day, this is happening in, you know, 10 minutes,
an hour.
yeah, exactly.
I would also say if you could text a reminder, that would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, no, those are all excellent points, Deany. You know, I just love it overall. Approach it just like you would an in-person event. You want to make it as easy to attend as possible. You want it to be as inviting as possible, and you want it to be as engaging as possible. So that's all very well. And, you know, it's just really about getting creative, you know, like really trying to think outside of the box and, you know, thinking about ways to do that. So, which is, for people who plan events, it's kind of exciting, but
we have a couple more comments and questions. So first, let's do the comments. So first we have Elizabeth Duncan Hawker says, "Go Deany Dormer!" 3 exclamation points. And our friend Zach Miller says, "What's up?"
What's up, Zach?
What's up, Zach? All right, we also have Stephen Robert. I'm going to attempt to pronounce this. Guglielmo. Stephen G. He says, "I work for a popcorn company and would love to host a virtual movie night for kids at CHKD and the general public. Any advice? A virtual movie night for the kids at CHKD." That's wow, cool.
That's great. That's really awesome. Go for it, man. Just go for it. Think about how you can promote your business with this. So can you create a little movie night popcorn kit that you mail to these people and you're getting some revenue in by that? You do some sort of special, some sort of thing. If it's a specific event, maybe you include like a rack card with fun facts about the movie. And then you put your, you know, your business card, of course, maybe information about you, maybe a coupon. Your next order is XYZ off, that sort of thing, or maybe not even giving them discounts, but buy this much, get this much free, or you can give them even a punch card. You can create an online portal where they can go in and they can order their popcorn. Think of some creative stuff that maybe you can put in there. Then you can mail those to them, you know, a couple of days in advance, and then we all look at the movie together. There's endless opportunities here, right? You could do so many different things, but make sure whatever's in that package that you're giving them is something that they can't find anywhere else. So they get to taste your delicious popcorn. Maybe you're giving them some popcorn seasonings. Then think about, or maybe you do the little packets. Think about putting polls online. What was your favorite seasoning for the popcorn? How did you eat your popcorn? What kind did you like best? I mean, you know, did you pour it out in a little, you could do fun surveys. Did you pour it out in a little bowl and put it around everybody? Are you sticking your hand directly in the bag? So those are like little fun little quizzes and different things that you can like engage them up to that movie night. But great idea. I say totally go for it.
Yeah, and send us an invitation, please.
I think it's a really good idea to do something, some event for the family, because, you know, people are, you're trapped inside of your house with your kids for the last 5 weeks, and you know, you're kind of running out of things to do with them. So if you could have some sort of event that's coming up in a couple of days, I think that's really cool. And Stephen does have a follow-up question. He says, "What about getting sponsors for covering the cost of licensing fees?" So how to get sponsors for a virtual event?
Yeah, you definitely have to get licenses to show, like, especially Disney movies and stuff. They're big sticklers with that. We did some stuff in the park before, and we We definitely got licenses for movie nights, so don't skimp on that. But
well, do you think it would make sense for him to broadcast the movie, or maybe like just coordinate with everyone to watch the movie at a specific time or on a specific night, something like that?
I think you should broadcast it. And then I think that you should do a live chat box as well, so that people and families can comment during the movie. The more engagement, the better. I would say you host it. Get the license, you host it. Then you can capture that information. You can push stuff back out. You can do little contests during the movie. What do you think is going to happen next? Who's right? You know, congratulations. I'm going to send you some popcorn. Engage completely throughout it. This is not one of those movies where nobody talks, you know, like you're just
silence yourself.
You know, so engage the whole time, put little quizzes. What's going to happen next? You know, and then think of who can partner with you that the audience is the same. So you're going after these, you know, CHKD families. What other partners would like to get in front of those exact same people? So say it's some big brand name, you can put their card or their coupon or whatever in that package. Or if you don't want to incur the cost of mailing things out, you could simply do it online and have them give them a promo code or have them download a coupon for the partner, and then do it that way.
Yeah, and that's you know, I would just say to that, you know, figure out what it is that you want to broadcast, and then, you know, explore the licensing and then come up with the cost, see if that's something that you can take on yourself, or, you know, then the next step, say, okay, it's maybe a little higher than I wanted to take on myself. So who can I form an alliance with, partnership with, that would want to go in on this with me? Obviously not a competitor, you know, but someone, complementary, you know, business that is seeking the same audience.
Yep. And then also see if you can do a package deal. So if you want this to be a regular thing, every Thursday night, this is movie night at 7 o'clock. So people know, ooh, it's Thursday night. Come on, we got to go to, you know, Sean's you know, movie party. See if the licensing you can do some package deals as well. You can buy a pack of 4 and kind of like go through the movies that you want. So that might bring the cost down for you a little bit. So explore those different options.
That's a great idea. Yeah, exactly. Like have it on a regular night every single week. So very good idea. I would say definitely just do it and then figure out some of those details later, but certainly a lot to think about. So we're running a little bit long, so I want to do one more comment / question and then kind of wrap it up. But Zach Miller, in addition to saying what's up, he says, it is even more important now that your content is solid throughout an online event because your audience can just leave. Unlike at a physical event, it's much harder to get up and leave. So the question I think there is, what can you do to make sure that your audience stays?
Yeah, you know, that's a tough one because, you know, it is hard to do that. But I would say that in physical events, people lately have seemed comfortable, perfectly fine to get up and leave. Also, so you know, it really hard. Attention spans are short because there is so much distraction, no matter where people are. Because even at a you know, physical event, they have their phone in front of them or their computer. You know, so it is hard, that mind share. You know, so you really do have to think of those creative ways, like Deany was saying. You know, to keep them engaged, to you know, loop them in. But you know, also there's still always, I wouldn't, if somebody does, you know, leave your broadcast or your virtual event or whatever, because there's minimum commitment, right? Unless there is a registration fee associated with it. But if it's a webinar that's, you know, complimentary or, you know, something that there's no cost, people are like, oh yeah, I'll register for this. But then when it gets down to the day and the time, they, you know, can say, oops, no, I'm not going, because there's a little skin in the game. But it still does, if you're at least able to get them to register and, you know, they were interested. So there's something to be said about that too. So I wouldn't discount, I wouldn't let it go. If they get up and leave your meeting, or if they leave your broadcast, follow up with them still, because you did have their attention. You made that conversation starter at a minimum. So ideally, keep them engaged, keep them involved as long as you can. But if you can't hold their attention, get it back. Go after them again and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, my answer to that would be to know your audience. You know, what do they want, right? So there's different reasons that people attend the event. So it could be content, you know, keeping them informed. It could be engagement. They want to be included. Their voice wants to be heard. Or, production, they want to be entertained, right? So know your audience and pull them before the event and things like that. Ask them what they want out of it, and make sure that you're delivering that. Make sure that you're listening to that audience. And that's where you can come up with the fun stuff. When you know what exactly that they're there for, is now you can incorporate your chat rooms and your networking rooms. If someone knows they're going to get matched with a potential business partner or a potential lead or things like, they're not going to leave. They're just not, because you're adding value to them. So if I know I'm signing up for this, I'm going to be, during the break for 20 minutes, I'm going to be in a room with 5 people, and we're going to talk for 20 minutes about my services and their services, and we're matched that we're ideal networkers for each other. I'm not leaving. I'm going to wait so that I can have that time. And I'm not going to leave if I need or want this specific content, and you're letting me know that you're providing it. So be as clear as possible up front. Here's what you're getting from the event. Here's what you're going to learn. Here's who you're going to meet. These are the takeaways that you're going to have once you finish watching this event and engaging with us. So with virtual, keep people as engaged as possible. Use those surveys, use those quizzes, think of those fun things, give prizes if you need to, but be extremely clear on what they're going to get and make sure that you deliver that.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. We're going to do one more real quick. Ashley McLeod. So,
Ashley.
Is it a familiar name?
Yeah.
So she says, so elaborate on what is after action. What are some, so I guess that's a question. What after action items should you do?
So definitely, you want as much feedback as possible. So, there's always, you make sure you're at the end, you are collecting the feedback, a survey, what was a win, what was a miss. And, keep the conversation going. Like I said before, follow up. It can be, be a personal email. It can be a mass email. It can be a phone call. It can be all 3. Just to say, hey, we noticed, we're so glad that you attended or did not attend. So follow up with those that ultimately didn't make it. And, provide something, since you were interested in this, maybe you would also be interested in this. Just keep that conversation going, because it is a touch point, and you had something they were interested in. So keep it going.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah. So I would say your after action has to go along with your strategy, right? So what are you trying to get out of these people, period, right? So when you're looking at your strategy, now you can know what webinar platform or Zoom or what virtual platform do you use? Do you need to capture these leads? Do you need these people's information? If you're doing something like a Google Hangout or maybe a Zoom, that's not where you're capturing those leads. So maybe it's going to be a webinar of sorts. So think of that when you're doing your overall strategy. What is the outcome that you want to get at the end of your event? And then you can put things in place in order to know what your follow-up strategy even needs to be. Are you selling right on the call? Are you giving them a special afterwards? Are you giving them this PDF download, different things like that? So think of your overall strategy, and then you can follow up accordingly, whether it's giving people information, getting their information in the beginning, but it goes along with your strategy. So knowing who your ideal client is and making a plan for that in the beginning will allow you to know exactly what you need to do in order to follow up, because you'll have those metrics in place.
Perfect and well said. All right. So definitely appreciate both of you very, very much. Very briefly, if you would, can you give us some information about what you do, your company, and the best place that people can contact you if they have any follow-up questions? And let's go with Kristen first.
All right. Yeah, sure. Kristen Littlewood, VP of Marketing for Ryno, which is a software company that's headquartered in Virginia Beach, but operates nationally. We are currently optimized for the real estate settlement services industry, but we are, constantly developing our software to span into other industries. It's financial protection software, reconciliation services. So if you would like to get in touch with me, I can be reached at Kristen, Kristen Littlewood, LITTLEWOOD at Rynoh, which is RYNOH.com.
Fantastic. All right. And Deany.
I'm Deany Dormer, event strategist and owner with Executive Events. Executive Events is based in Norfolk, Virginia. We specialize in helping business owners make their events a lead generation tool. We do consulting as well. We can plan and manage the event for you, or we can come in as a consultant and give you that strategy, that plan of how to move forward with your team. You can reach me. My email is deany@assistmyevent.com. That's DEANY@ASSISTMYEVENT.com. And our website is assistmyevent.com as well. And you can give me a call at 757-553-4738.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks once again so much. I really appreciate both of you. That was very informative. And, we do a couple of events ourselves. So I've been kind of taking notes here. And no, it was great. Thanks so much. And for anyone who is still watching, we will be doing these lunchtime live streams every Friday at noon. So be sure to tune in again. You could always find us on Fridays at noon at thisisarray.live. Thanks for joining.
Great. Thanks so much.